The plate slipped from my trembling hands, shattering into pieces across the cold kitchen floor. I stood frozen, watching the white ceramic scatter like my heart had just done. From the living room, I heard my daughter's voice, calm but heavy, as if she'd rehearsed those words 100 times. "Mom, you can't stay here anymore. It's not working," my breath caught. Not working. Those two words echoed in my chest, dull and sharp at the same time. I looked at her, my only daughter, the little girl whose fever I used to nurse through sleepless nights, whose hair I braided before school, whose hands I held when she was scared of thunder. Now she stood with folded arms, avoiding my eyes. Did I do something wrong? My voice was softer than a whisper. Is it because of me using the heater too much again? "I'll be careful, sweetheart," she sighed. "Mom, it's not that. It's just... we need space. The kids need their rooms back. You'll be better off somewhere peaceful, you know? Somewhere peaceful. That's what they say when they want to make guilt sound gentle." I looked around the house, the pictures on the wall, the smell of cinnamon candles, the family photos I'd framed myself. There was my husband's smile frozen in one of them, his arm around me, both of us beaming on our 40th anniversary. He'd been gone 6 months now, 6 long, empty months, and this house had been the only place that still smelled like him. Now, even that was being taken away. I bent down slowly, picking up the broken pieces of the plate. "Your father bought this plate set when we first moved in together," I murmured, half to myself. "Said it made our table look fancy." "Mom, please," she said impatiently. "Don't make this harder than it already is." I looked up at her. Her eyes were glossy, but her tone was firm, like she was convincing herself, not me. "Where will I go, Emily?" "There's a retirement home near Maple Street," she said. "They have nice people." "You'll make friends, retirement home." The words stung more than I could bear. That night, I packed quietly. The house was still, except for the ticking of the clock in the hallway. Each tick felt like a countdown to something inevitable. Emily didn't come to my room again. Maybe she couldn't. Maybe she was afraid to see what she was doing. When I folded the last sweater, I found an old photo tucked between the sleeves. Me and her father dancing in our living room, his arms strong around me, his eyes full of life. I pressed the picture to my chest. "Tom," I whispered, "I don't know what to do now." The next morning, she helped me carry my suitcase to the porch. The air was cold, and I could see my breath clouding in front of me. Her husband, Mike, didn't look at me much. He just nodded, said, "Take care, Mrs. L." The kids were at school. Maybe that was a mercy. I didn't want them to see their grandmother leaving, like some old unwanted thing being carried out quietly. Before stepping down the porch, I turned to her. "Emily," I said softly, "you'll understand one day when you're my age. When silence becomes louder than words." She looked away. I smiled anyway, because mothers do that. Even when they're breaking, they make it look gentle. The retirement home was not what she'd promised. It smelled like bleach and sadness. People sat staring at television screens with blank eyes. The staff smiled too brightly. Their words clipped, rehearsed. My room had one small window. It faced the back alley, where garbage trucks came every morning. I spent hours staring out of it, waiting for a bird to land on the railing, for a ray of sunlight to find me. But most days, only the grey sky kept me company. At night, I'd sit with my photo album. Each picture was a world of its own. Birthdays, picnics, Sunday dinners, my daughter's wedding day. I used to be the center of that world. Now, I was just a memory with a name tag on my door. One evening, I heard a knock. It was Mary, my neighbor from down the hall, 82, with sharp wit and kind eyes. "New here, huh?" she asked, handing me a cup of lukewarm tea. "Yes," I said, forcing a smile. "My daughter thought I'd be happier here." Mary laughed softly. "That's what they all say, dear. You'll get used to it, or you'll find a way out." Her words stayed with me. Find a way out, but out to where? That night, I lay awake thinking of my husband again. How he used to hold my hand during thunderstorms. How he said, "Promise me you'll never stop living, even when I'm gone." I had promised, but somewhere along the way, life had quietly left me behind. A few weeks later, Emily stopped answering my calls. At first, she said she was busy. Then her number changed. That's when the loneliness stopped being quiet. It started screaming inside me. I would walk in the garden, watching families visit other residents, bringing flowers, laughter, hugs. No one came for me. One afternoon, I sat by the fountain, tossing small pebbles into the water. Each ripple reminded me of the years I'd given to others. Love, care, sacrifices, all fading away into circles that disappeared too soon. "Have you ever felt unwanted in your own family?" I said softly, looking at the phone camera I'd propped against my purse. "Tap that heart symbol so I know I'm not alone." My voice cracked at the end. I hadn't meant to record anything that day, but I did, and somehow it made me feel seen again. That night, I uploaded the video to a small Facebook group for widows I'd joined weeks ago. I didn't expect anything. By morning, there were thousands of likes, hundreds of comments, women from all over the country saying, "I feel you. You're not alone. You are strong, Grandma." For the first time in months, I smiled without forcing it. A week passed, then another. The nurse began calling me the famous lady. Apparently, people were asking about me, the old woman who spoke about love and loss. They said my words gave them courage. I started recording more, not for fame, but for healing. I'd sit by my little window, talking softly to whoever might be listening. "Sometimes silence hurts more than words," I said in one video. "Comment true if you've ever felt that pain." Every message I received felt like a thread stitching me back together. Still, every night before sleeping, I whispered a small prayer. "God, if there's still a plan for me, show me where to go next." Then one morning, something unexpected happened. A young man in a clean uniform knocked on my door. "Mrs. Langley?" he asked. "Yes." "I'm from the community center downtown. We've been watching your videos. Our seniors program would love to have you come speak. Maybe share your story." I stared at him, stunned. "Me?" He smiled. "Yes, Mom. People need your kind of honesty." For a moment, I couldn't breathe. After months of being invisible, someone saw me again. Not as a burden, but as a voice. I agreed. My hands trembled as I packed my little purse, not with fear, but with something I hadn't felt in years. Purpose. When I stood on that small stage in the community center, facing a room full of people, widows, single mothers, lonely souls, I felt my husband's presence beside me. I told them everything. The loss, the rejection, the quiet strength that grew in the cracks of heartbreak. When I finished, there wasn't a dry eye in the room. Afterward, a young woman came up to me crying. "Mom," she said, "your story saved me." I was about to give up, but now I want to live. That night, I sat by the fountain again under the soft glow of streetlights. I looked up at the sky and whispered, "Tom, maybe this was your plan all along." But just as I turned to leave, my phone buzzed. A message popped up from an unknown number. "Mom, please don't block this number. I need to talk to you." It was Emily. My hands shook as I stared at the screen. The world around me seemed to fade away. Only those words glowed. Was it guilt, regret, or something else she wanted to say? I took a deep breath. My thumb hovered over the screen. And then I pressed open. They say memories fade with time, but mine don't. Some nights, they come alive so clearly that I can almost smell the apple pie cooling on the kitchen counter, hear Tom's laughter echo through the hallway, and see little Emily running through the garden with her hair flying in the wind. Those were the golden years. Or so I thought. Back then, our small house in Cedar Falls was always full of warmth. Tom worked 2 jobs after the factory closed, and I took shifts at the diner. We didn't have much, but somehow we had everything. Emily would sit on the counter while I cooked, swinging her legs. "Mom, when I grow up, I'll buy you a big house," she used to say. And I'd laugh. "I don't want a big house, sweetheart. I just want you to visit Funny." How wishes age differently than people do. The table was always full on Sundays, Tom carving the roast, Emily setting out the plates, her giggling about college dreams. We'd talk about everything back then. Hopes, jobs, silly neighbors. But after Tom got sick, those conversations changed. It started with quiet dinners. Then the quiet spread to everything else. Emily would eat in silence, her eyes fixed on her phone. Tom would smile weakly, pretending not to notice how distant she'd grown. One night, when his cough had gotten worse, I heard them talking in the hallway. "Dad," she whispered, "why don't you sell the house? You could move closer to me. I'd take care of Mom." Tom chuckled softly. "Sweetheart, your mother belongs here. Every corner of this place is her memory." Emily didn't answer, but I heard her sigh. Long, heavy, full of something I couldn't name then.
They say memories fade with time, but mine don't. Some nights, they come alive so clearly that I can almost smell the apple pie cooling on the kitchen counter, hear Tom's laughter echo through the hallway, and see little Emily running through the garden with her hair flying in the wind. Those were the golden years, or so I thought. Back then, our small house in Cedar Falls was always full of warmth. Tom worked 2 jobs after the factory closed, and I took shifts at the diner. We didn't have much, but somehow we had everything. Emily would sit on the counter while I cooked, swinging her legs. "Mom, when I grow up, I'll buy you a big house," she used to say. And I'd laugh. "I don't want a big house, sweetheart. I just want you to visit." Funny how wishes age differently than people do. The table was always full on Sundays. Tom carving the roast, Emily setting out the plates, her giggling about college dreams. We'd talk about everything back then. Hopes, jobs, silly neighbors. But after Tom got sick, those conversations changed. It started with quiet dinners. Then the quiet spread to everything else. Emily would eat in silence, her eyes fixed on her phone. Tom would smile weakly, pretending not to notice how distant she'd grown. One night, when his cough had gotten worse, I heard them talking in the hallway. "Dad, why don't you sell the house? You could move closer to me. I'd take care of Mom." Tom chuckled softly. "Sweetheart, your mother belongs here. Every corner of this place is her memory." Emily didn't answer, but I heard her sigh, long, heavy, full of something I couldn't name then. Now I know what it was. Greed wears a polite smile before it turns cruel. After Tom passed away, I found his journal. He'd written everything: his worries about money, his fear of leaving me alone, his plans for Emily's future. He'd even written about the house. I want Mary to live here as long as she wants. It's hers. But when I showed the will to Emily, she looked at it, frowned, and said, "Mom, this can't be right. You don't know how to handle property papers. Dad probably meant to update it." Her husband Mike nodded beside her, too quickly. "Yeah, it's better if we sort it out legally. You don't want the stress, do you?" I remember staring at both of them, the room spinning slightly. I trusted them, completely. But I handed them the papers anyway, because when you're a mother, trust is not a choice, it's your instinct. Days later, the documents disappeared. Emily said she'd filed them safely. I never saw them again. That's when everything began to change. At first, it was little things. Emily correcting the way I folded laundry, asking if I could stay out of her way when guests came over. Then came the locked doors. Then came the day she said, "Mom, you need your own space." Own space. Funny how loneliness can be gift-wrapped as freedom. I spent the last night in that house sitting in Tom's chair, holding his old sweater. His scent was fading, and so was I. Sometimes I wonder, maybe she didn't mean to hurt me. Maybe life just hardened her in ways I'll never understand. Or maybe love, when mixed with ambition, turns blind. After Emily's message appeared on my phone, I couldn't sleep. Her words kept looping in my head. "Mom, please don't block this number. I need to talk to you." Why now? After months of silence? After everything? I typed a reply. "I'm listening." Her response came instantly. "There's something you should know about Dad's will." My fingers went cold. The air felt heavier. Was she finally admitting what I'd feared all along? Or was there something even darker I didn't know? Before I could reply, there was a knock at my door. It was Mary again, my neighbor from down the hall. She was holding 2 cups of cocoa. "You look pale, dear. Everything all right?" I hesitated, then nodded. "Just family things." Mary smiled gently. "Family things have a way of never staying buried, don't they?" "Do you ever miss your kids?" I asked. She chuckled softly. "Every day. But I also learned something. Sometimes love means letting go of people who no longer see your worth." Her words settled deep inside me, like soft rain soaking dry soil. That night, I couldn't stop thinking about Tom's missing will. I remembered where he used to keep important papers, in the old cedar chest in our attic. Maybe there was another copy. But how could I get there now? The house wasn't mine anymore. I remembered one particular night, months before Tom died. A storm had hit and the power went out. I'd lit candles all around the house. Tom had asked me to sit beside him. "If something ever happens to me," he said quietly, "promise me you'll check the cedar chest. There's something for you there." At the time, I'd laughed it off. "Don't talk like that." Now his words haunted me like a whisper through time. Could it be that he'd left me something I never found? The next morning, I went to the director of the retirement home. "Sir," I began, "I need to go visit my old house, just for an hour." He frowned. "That's not allowed without family permission." Family permission. The irony stung. But later that day, Mary handed me something, a visitor's pass she'd borrowed from a volunteer friend. "Go," she whispered. "Sometimes answers don't wait." So I went. The house looked smaller now, colder. Emily wasn't home. Mike's car was gone too. My heart pounded as I slipped inside, using the old key I'd never returned. The air was filled with lemon cleaner and distance. Every corner felt both familiar and foreign, like walking through someone else's dream. I climbed the stairs slowly, each creak echoing through the emptiness. When I reached the attic, the smell of cedar hit me. There it was, the chest. I knelt beside it, hands trembling. Inside were old photographs, letters, Tom's watch, and beneath it all, an envelope with my name written in his handwriting. My throat tightened. Tears blurred my vision as I opened it. Inside was another document, yellowed, creased, but clear. It was Tom's will, the real one. He'd left everything, the house, the savings, everything in my name. My heart raced. Emily had lied all this time. I clutched the paper to my chest, whispering, "Tom, you tried to protect me even from the grave." A floorboard creaked behind me. I froze. "Mom?" a voice said sharply. It was Emily. Standing in the doorway, eyes wide, her expression somewhere between shock and guilt. "What are you doing here?" she demanded. I couldn't speak. The paper in my hand trembled. She looked at it and her face drained of color. "You weren't supposed to find that," she whispered. For a long moment, we just stood there, two strangers connected by blood and betrayal. Finally, I said quietly, "So this was the real reason you sent me away." She stepped closer, tears forming, but something in her eyes, fear, not remorse, made my heart ache even more. If you've ever given everything to your family and still felt invisible, my voice trembles, tap heart symbols so I know you exist. I turned to leave, but Emily grabbed my arm. "Wait, Mom, you don't understand." Her voice cracked. "It wasn't my idea, it was Mike's. He made me—" The sound of a car door slammed outside. Her words cut off. We both turned toward the window. Mike was home. Emily's eyes widened. "Mom, please, go, now!" I looked at her, tears glistening in both our eyes. "Why, Emily? What have you done?" Before she could answer, the attic door creaked again. Footsteps coming closer. Sometimes the ones we love most are the ones who break us. Emily's hand trembled on my arm as the sound of Mike's footsteps echoed up the stairs. "Mom, please," she whispered, eyes wide with fear. "Hide the paper." Before I could move, Mike appeared in the doorway, his expression tightening when he saw me crouched beside the cedar chest. "What's going on here?" he demanded. His voice was calm, too calm, the kind that carried quiet danger. I rose slowly, clutching the envelope to my chest. "I came for my memories," I said, my voice low but steady. "And I found the truth." Mike's jaw clenched. "What truth?" Emily tried to step between us. "Mike, stop, please." He glared at her, then at me. "You shouldn't be here, Mary. You signed everything over. This isn't your house anymore." "I never signed anything," I replied quietly. "You forged my name, didn't you?" The silence that followed was thick enough to cut through. Mike's face twitched, a flicker of guilt flashing before he masked it. "That's ridiculous." Emily's eyes filled with tears. "He told me it was legal, Mom. He said you agreed. I didn't know." "You didn't want to know," I said softly, "because the truth would have made you look at yourself." I took a slow step forward, holding the document out. "This is Tom's real will. He left everything to me. You both knew that." Mike moved toward me, but Emily's voice broke through. "Stop, Mike! Don't you dare!" He froze, startled by the sharpness in her tone. I turned to her. "You have a choice, Emily. Keep lying for him, or tell the truth your father died believing in." Her lips quivered. Then, with a trembling breath, she whispered, "He made me hide it, said we needed the money to pay debts. I didn't want to lose him." Mike's voice rose. "You think anyone will believe an old woman over me?" "I don't need them to," I said quietly. "I have proof." From my bag, I pulled out my phone. I recorded our conversation. You just confessed. For a moment, no one moved. Then Mike lunged forward, snatching the paper from my hand. Emily gasped, trying to pull him back, but his anger spilled over like fire. "You're not ruining this for us," he shouted. Emily's scream broke through the chaos. "Mike, stop!" But before he could tear the paper, the front door opened. A tall man stepped in, Mr. Reynolds, our old family lawyer. His gaze swept the room, calm but sharp. "I came because your mother called me last night," he said to Emily. "She said something didn't add up. I think I know why." Mike froze, the color draining from his face. Reynolds walked over, extending his hand. "Mr. Langley, I'll take that document." Mike hesitated, but the authority in the lawyer's tone left no room for argument. Slowly, he handed it over. Reynolds unfolded the will, his eyes scanning the lines. "This is legitimate, and the signatures, these here, this one was forged." He turned toward Mike. "I'll be taking this to the authorities." Emily covered her mouth, sobbing. "I didn't mean for it to go this far." I stood still, my heart breaking not out of anger but sorrow. "You wanted comfort, but you traded it for conscience." She fell to her knees. "Mom, I'm sorry." I knelt beside her, cupping her face. "I forgive you, Emily, but forgiveness doesn't erase the truth." Behind us, Mike muttered, "You'll regret this." Reynolds looked at him firmly. "You're the one who should be afraid." The police arrived minutes later, called by the lawyer's assistant waiting outside. As they led Mike away, he glanced back once, his arrogance gone, replaced by quiet defeat. Emily stayed on the floor, crying softly. "I ruined everything, didn't I?" "No," I said, standing. "You still have time to rebuild what's left." I looked around the house, our family portraits, the walls once full of laughter, now echoing with guilt and silence. When family turns against you, the silence hurts more than the words. Comment true if you've lived this. Emily looked up. "What will you do now?" I smiled faintly. "Live, finally." Mr. Reynolds approached. "There's one more thing you should know, Mrs. Langley. Your husband left another letter for you in my care. He said I should give it to you only when the truth came out." My breath caught. "A letter?" He nodded, handing me a small, sealed envelope with my name written in Tom's familiar handwriting. I held it gently, afraid to break the seal. Emily whispered, "What does it say?" I shook my head. "I'll read it when I'm ready." I turned toward the door, feeling the weight of years lift off my shoulders. The air outside was cool, the sky painted with the last colors of dusk. I clutched the letter to my chest and whispered, "You were right, Tom. The truth always finds its way home." "Have you ever spoken the truth and still been blamed?" I said softly. "Tap heart symbol if that pain feels familiar." As I walked down the porch steps, a single tear rolled down my cheek. Not from sadness, but release. But just as I reached the gate, my phone buzzed again. It was a message from an unknown number. "Mrs. Langley, this is about your husband's account. There's something you need to see." I stopped in my tracks. The breeze stilled, my fingers trembling as I stared at the screen. A shadow passed over my heart. What could they possibly mean, your husband's account? He was gone. Or was there something he'd left behind that none of us had discovered yet? The paper in my hand fluttered, and I whispered, "Tom, what else did you hide from me?" The room was silent. The air felt heavy, like even the walls were holding their breath. I sat across from Emily and Mike at the long wooden table in the lawyer's office. Mr. Reynolds placed a folder in front of him, his expression unreadable. On the far side sat two police officers, their notepads ready. Emily's eyes were swollen from crying. Mike looked pale but defiant. "We're here," Reynolds began, "to finalize the case regarding the forgery of Mr. Thomas Langley's will and property documents." He looked directly at Mike. "Mr. Langley, you are aware of the charges against you." Mike crossed his arms. I already told you it was a misunderstanding. I looked at him quietly. A misunderstanding doesn't erase a signature you forged. His gaze darted to me, full of bitterness. You think this makes you noble? You ruined your own family. Emily flinched. Stop, Mike. Please. The lawyer opened the folder, revealing the documents I'd found in the cedared chest beside Tom's letter. This is the original will, signed and notarized. The handwriting, witness statements, and date all align with the official record. He paused, sliding another paper forward. And this is the version you submitted, forged, manipulated, and filed using Mrs. Langley's falsified consent. Gasps filled the room from the onlookers and staff. Mike's jaw tightened, but the evidence spoke for itself. I could feel my heartbeat in my throat. Years of silence, of being treated like a burden, now condensed into this one trembling moment. Reynolds continued. Furthermore, there is an audio recording provided by Mrs. Langley where both of you admitted to hiding the real document. He pressed play. My own voice echoed softly from the phone speaker. You forged my name, didn't you? Then Mike's reply, bitter and sharp. You think anyone will believe an old woman over me? Gasps again. Emily covered her face, crying softly. The truth was no longer hidden. Mike's shoulders sagged as the last thread of denial snapped. You did this to your own mother, Reynolds said, voice quiet but cutting. How could you? Mike said nothing. The police officers stood, reading the charge aloud. Michael Carter Langley, you are under arrest for document forgery, fraud, and coercion. He stood slowly, his arrogance gone, replaced by the hollow look of defeat. As they took him toward the door, he glanced back once. No anger now, just shame. Emily sobbed quietly. Mom, I didn't mean for any of this. I turned to her, voice trembling but calm. You chose silence when truth needed a voice. She nodded through tears. I'll live with that. The officer led Mike out, and the door shut behind him. The silence afterward was heavier than any argument could have been. Reynolds turned to me. Mrs. Langley, justice is served. The property will be restored in your name. You've shown remarkable strength. I nodded slowly, my hands trembling on the table. If seeing truth win gives you hope, tap heart symbol so more people see this. Emily wiped her eyes. I know I don't deserve forgiveness. I reached across the table, gently taking her hand. Maybe not yet, but I still pray you find your way back to love. She looked at me with disbelief. After everything? I smiled weakly. Because I'm still your mother. Reynolds handed me another envelope. Your husband left you this letter, Mrs. Langley. He wanted it read when the truth had fully come to light. I opened it carefully. Tom's handwriting filled the page. My dearest Mary, if you are reading this, then truth has finally found its way back to you. I knew you'd be strong enough to face it. I left something for Emily too, a separate letter she must read alone. Maybe it will remind her what family truly means. You were always the heart of this home. Don't let them turn your kindness into weakness. Love, forever, Tom. Tears blurred the ink as I folded the letter and handed the smaller envelope to Emily. She looked at it like it was fire. I can't, I interrupted softly. He wrote it for you. Whatever it says, it's meant to heal, not hurt. She held it close to her chest, whispering, I'm sorry, Dad. Reynolds stood. Mrs. Langley, once the legal papers are processed, the property and funds will return to you. The media may reach out for a statement.
Would you like to say anything publicly? I thought for a moment, then said quietly, Tell them I'm not proud that justice came, but that truth did. Outside, people from the community had gathered. Some knew me from my videos, others from the neighborhood. Whispers filled the air. That's her, the mother her own daughter betrayed. She still forgave them. Some people only realize too late what real wealth is. I stepped outside slowly, sunlight warming my face after months of cold. I felt Tom's presence beside me, calm and strong. They thought she was weak, I whispered. She showed them what real strength looks like. A woman in the crowd touched my hand. You've given us hope, she said softly. Sometimes justice takes time, but it always comes. Comment true if you believe that. That night I sat alone in the house that had once been full of laughter. Every creak, every shadow felt like an echo of the past. I placed Tom's letter on the mantel beside our old wedding photo. For the first time in years, I breathed deeply, not in grief, but peace. Yet as the clock ticked toward midnight, I couldn't shake the feeling that something remained unfinished. My phone buzzed again, a message from an unknown number. Mrs. Langley, we need to talk. It's about your husband's account. Please don't ignore this. I stared at the screen, heart pounding. What more could there be? What secret still lingered in the shadows of his life? Justice was done, but peace still felt far away.
Would you like to say anything publicly? I thought for a moment, then said quietly, tell them I'm not proud that justice came, but that truth did. Outside, people from the community had gathered. Some knew me from my videos, others from the neighborhood. Whispers filled the air. That's her, the mother her own daughter betrayed. She still forgave them. Some people only realize too late what real wealth is. I stepped outside slowly, sunlight warming my face after months of cold. I felt Tom's presence beside me, calm and strong. They thought she was weak, I whispered. She showed them what real strength looks like. A woman in the crowd touched my hand. You've given us hope, she said softly. Sometimes justice takes time, but it always comes. Comment true if you believe that. That night, I sat alone in the house that had once been full of laughter. Every creak, every shadow felt like an echo of the past. I placed Tom's letter on the mantel beside our old wedding photo. For the first time in years, I breathed deeply, not in grief, but peace. Yet as the clock ticked toward midnight, I couldn't shake the feeling that something remained unfinished. My phone buzzed again, a message from an unknown number. Mrs. Langley, we need to talk. It's about your husband's account. Please don't ignore this. I stared at the screen, heart pounding. What more could there be? What secrets still lingered in the shadows of his life? Justice was done, but peace still felt far away.
It's been 2 years since that day. The air feels different now, lighter, calmer. The house that once echoed with silence and betrayal now hums softly with life again. The roses Tom planted have finally bloomed by the fence, their petals catching the morning light. I water them every day, whispering small prayers as I go, not for justice anymore, but for peace. Emily visits sometimes, not every week, but enough. She brings her daughter, little Lily, who runs through the garden barefoot, laughing like nothing bad ever happened. The first time she called me grandma, I cried quietly behind my smile. I didn't want her to see the tears, not of sadness, but of something deeper, forgiveness. Emily still carries guilt in her eyes, but she's trying. She helps with groceries, sometimes stays for tea. We talk about Tom, his old jokes, his morning habits, the way he never liked burnt toast. It feels almost normal, though we both know the cracks beneath that quiet. But I've learned something. Some wounds don't need to be erased. They just need to stop bleeding. I spend my mornings reading by the window now, the same spot where I once waited for someone to knock, to say sorry, to take me home. Now,
I realize I found my home within myself. If you've ever healed after heartbreak, tap heart symbol so I know I'm not alone. Sometimes I still look at Tom's picture and whisper, "We made it through, didn't we?" His smile, frozen in that frame, almost seems to nod back. The letter he wrote me is now framed above my desk. It reminds me every day that love doesn't die with the person, it just changes shape. After everything, I found purpose again. There's a small community center nearby where I volunteer twice a week, teach art to older women who've been forgotten by their families. Some of them carry heavier stories than mine, yet when they paint, I see color return to their eyes. One woman, Margaret, once told me, "Your story made me believe I can start over too." And I realized that maybe that's what God's bigger plan was all along. Not revenge, not wealth, just the chance to help someone else believe in healing. Come in strong if you've ever had to stand alone and rebuild. Last week, Emily and I baked apple pie together. It wasn't perfect. The crust burned on one side, and Lily kept sneaking sugar when we weren't looking. But when we sat down to eat, for a moment, it felt like family again. I caught Emily watching me, her voice trembling. "Mom, thank you for still loving me." I smiled gently. "I'd never stopped, sweetheart. I just had to remember how to love myself too." She cried and I held her, not like the mother who'd been betrayed, but like the one who finally understood that forgiveness is freedom. I've started journaling too. Each night I write one thing I'm grateful for. Today I wrote, "Peace that doesn't need permission." The nights are quieter now. The ache still visits sometimes, especially when I hear Tom's favorite song or see a father holding his daughter's hand. But instead of pain, there's warmth in the memory. I sit by the window with a cup of tea, watching the sun set over the garden. Lily runs through the yard, chasing butterflies. Her laughter drifts through the open window, mixing with the sound of rustling leaves. And I think maybe this is what redemption looks like. Not dramatic, not loud, just life finding its way back to light. Grandmas deserve respect and love. Share this so everyone remembers that. As the sky turns orange and pink, I whisper a prayer, not for what I've lost, but for what I found. Strength in solitude, peace in forgiveness, love that survived the storm. I look at Lily again, and for the first time in years, I feel hope, pure and simple. She'll grow up knowing that mistakes can break us, but love, when real, always finds a way. I glance at Emily, who's watching her daughter with quiet tears. She catches my eye, and we share a small nod. No words needed. Just understanding. If this story touched your heart, like and comment to honor your own journey. I close my eyes for a moment, breathing in the scent of the roses, hearing the echo of my husband's laughter in the wind. He always believed life had a strange way of leading us where we needed to go. Maybe he was right. After all, if he hadn't gone, I'd have never discovered how strong I could be. The pain, the betrayal, the loneliness, they didn't destroy me. They shaped me. They turned me into the woman I was meant to be. And as I watch the sun sink behind the trees, a question lingers softly in my heart. Sometimes Even after betrayal, love still finds a way, doesn't it?